Hamas releases 4 Israeli female soldiers, and Tel Aviv will release Palestinian names later tonight. Russia offers dialogue with Syria's new leadership. And Israel's gunners urge Israeli forces to stay in Lebanon's buffer zone. It's 8 p.m. local time and you're watching Qnews. We begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Gaza. The news in detail. Hamas has announced that they will be releasing 4 Israeli female soldiers detainees. They stated that these 4 are Karina Ariev, Daniela Gilbauer, Naima Levy and Larry Al-Bag. Hamas added that the release process will take place on January 25th. In response, Israeli media reported that Tel Aviv is preparing to receive the female detainees whose names were provided by Hamas, and the names of Palestinian detainees will be published tonight. Palestinians in Jabalia have used the pause in fighting between Israel and Hamas to survey the remnants of their homes. In Jabalia, which has witnessed some of Israel's furious bombings over the past 15 months, Palestinians are confronting an apocalyptic landscape of devastation. Major roads have been ploughed up, critical water and electricity infrastructure is in ruins, and most hospitals no longer function. Israeli occupation forces have arrested 9 Palestinians from Anata, northeast of Jerusalem. Palestinian news agency reported that soldiers stormed the town, raided homes, conducted searches and arrested the individuals, heightening tensions in the area. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has pledged to his Israeli counterpart Gideon Sa'ar assistance in freeing the remaining detainees in Gaza. Rubio welcomed the ongoing aid to Gaza and emphasized the need for peace by addressing Iranian threats, while also ensuring sustained ceasefire efforts between Israel and Lebanon. Egypt's permanent representative to the UN ambassador Osama Abdel Khaliq has urged intensified efforts for the early recovery and reopening of Gaza's vital health facilities. This came during a Security Council session where he emphasized the importance of sustaining UNRWA as a lifeline for Gaza's children and condemned severe Israeli violations against children in both the West Bank and Gaza. Abdel Khaliq stressed that the future of Gaza's children depends on equality, ending aggression, and ensuring their rights and protection. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has stated that the 653 aid trucks entered the Gaza Strip yesterday on the 5th day of the ceasefire. According to UN Deputy Spokesman for the Secretary General, Farhan Haq, OCHA also reported that large volumes of humanitarian aid continue to enter Gaza through the Eretz and Zakim crossings in the north and the Karm Abu Salim crossing in the south. Haq also told reporters at UN headquarters that partners in central and southern Gaza have resumed monthly food distributions with full rations. And for more analysis, we now move to Salma Marwan in our newsroom. To you, Salma.
Thank you, Mona. And for further analysis on the current situation in Gaza, we're joined from Ramallah by writer and researcher Ahmed Zakarna. Mr. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us on Qnews. And first off, what are the immediate challenges Palestinians in Jabalia face as they survey the destruction of their homes?
مساء الخير.
The challenges since the first moment of the truce deal that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to worsen the lives of the Palestinians, meaning reproducing or engineering the conflict and push it the first quarter, which is the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people as a whole, whether in Gaza Strip or the West Bank. And hence difficulties are facing the truce for several reasons, among which genocide never targeting the human itself but the place through which to be expelled and make it alive in the Gaza Strip is unbearable. And difficulties are in place and exist, and the deal is still in its first week. We hope to be sustained and the calm to continue and to halt the bloodshed in Gaza Strip, despite the international system is watching and the fall of the international system in the test of humanity and the law that is violated specifically in the Palestinian territories, so whether in the Gaza Strip or in the West Bank, and the operation that launched in the notion of the West Bank is clear evident.
Now, regarding the latest announcement by Hamas that it will release 4 Israeli female soldiers, what role could the Israeli government play in ensuring a smooth detainee release process?
Role to abide what has been agreed upon in the agreement and not to allow the Hamas movement in order to bring the hostages in return to release the Palestinian prisoner and not hinders the process from sustainability as did it before in the previous time and hindered the release that lasted of the midnight of the following day. The Israeli government has commitment that would entail the withdrawals being agreed upon should be done by the Israeli government, each phase in its time. And this deal should lead to an absolute calm and to move to the political path, not only in the Gaza Strip but in the West Bank, that would include all the Palestinian cause, the peace path and the two-state solution as the international system wants, as well as Trump, and to make the Middle East is calm again.
Now, shedding light on the United States' role, how significant is the U.S. pledge to assist Israel in freeing the remaining detainees in Gaza?
The United States have already helped Israel and the far-right coalition to participate in the atrocities in the Gaza Strip and now in the West Bank. But the Republican administration wishes to assist and support Israel in another way that is related to the pressure practiced on Hamas and the Arab group and the mediators to release the hostages. The fear is the hostages might return to Washington and Israel, and Netanyahu might taking advantage to continue the war. If it is not in the Strip, it would be in the West Bank. That has already started in the West Bank, because the matter is against the Palestinian people and is not targeting the resistance, but the Palestinian people, not only Gaza Strip as a separate geography, but targeting the West Bank that affirms that the political Israeli plans that is related to the ethnic cleansing and force the how the people who lived to be displaced forcibly or voluntarily. That's we can see in the northern of the West Bank in demolishing the houses, expelling the people, and exiting the camp, the refugee camp of the Palestinian coalition as a symbol of the Palestinian memory and the project of return. That also comes, this is evident and in targeting the UNRWA itself, that targeting the project of the Palestinian return as stated and stipulated in Oslo Agreement as one of the suspended issue to its final phases, but the project of Oslo is already had fallen due to the reluctance of the Israeli practices that lasted for more than 20 years up till now.
Lastly, sir, regarding the humanitarian situation, how do you see the United Nations aid distribution efforts influencing the humanitarian situation in Gaza?
Cases, the UN, or rather the humanitarian institution, had failed in the test of the humanitarian and ethical law, and maybe runs well that led to the deal. Up till now, the aid never reached the nation of the Gaza Strip, for instance, let alone that it is agreed upon to deliver or to enter 600 trucks on daily basis. Sometimes these numbers cannot come into, and basically they are not enough to fulfill the needs of 2.5 million of the Gaza Strip, and the minimum is also reaching them. Even though we hope that this effort would last and all the aid to reach all the most needed Palestinian people, as the case is basically politically not human, with the importance of delivering of the aid for the Palestinian people. But we should not forget and try to move the political case into humanitarian case. This should be present upon the table through the negotiation. Yes, the Palestinian people is in dire need of the aid and the reconstruction. But we should not forget that the cause basically is not only the Palestinian people, but the cause of two Islamic and Arab nations.
That was the writer and researcher Ahmad Zakarna. Thank you so much for joining us here on Qnews and for all the information you provided us with. And now we're going to move back to Mona in the studio.
Thank you so much, Salma. And moving on to Cairo, Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati has congratulated his U.S. counterpart Marco Rubio on assuming office, highlighting the Senate's confidence in Rubio's leadership. This came during a phone call in which Abdulhadi expressed Egypt's commitment to strengthening strategic ties with the US, covering politics, defense and economics. Both ministers discussed regional crises, cooperation to ease tensions and a two-state solution for Palestine. Rubio praised Egypt's role in the Gaza truce agreement and pledged deeper collaboration under the new administration. Now we move on to the latest developments in Syria. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has expressed readiness for constructive dialogue with Syria's new authorities, including discussions about Russian military bases. Lavrov added that these bases may temporarily serve as humanitarian hubs, addressing Syria's urgent need for external aid. He emphasized the importance of lifting sanctions to rebuild Syria's economy. Earlier, Lavrov highlighted President Vladimir Putin's efforts to identify immediate assistance programs for the country during a press conference. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, has visited a border crossing between Syria and Lebanon. The UN Refugee Agency said in December that around 1 million Syrian refugees were expected to return to the country in the first 6 months of 2025 after the ousting of Bashar al-Assad from power. In a flash update published January 10th, the UNHCR said an estimated 125,000 Syrians had returned since the collapse of al-Assad government. Syria's Foreign Minister Asad al-Shaybani has stated that sanctions burden the Syrian people and that a majority is obstacle to stability. That came as he spoke in a press conference with his Saudi counterpart in Damascus, where al-Shaybani stressed that the regional events have significantly impacted the situation in Syria. For his part, the Saudi foreign minister emphasized the importance of lifting the sanctions imposed on Syria. He also reiterated that Saudi Arabia has established long-term programs to assist Syria. And now we move on to the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين. وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Benny Gantz, an Israeli Knesset member, has demanded the Israeli occupation forces to remain in Lebanon's buffer zone. Gantz added that Israel must prioritize the security of northern residents and ensure that the settlements are not threatened. He also stated that the Israeli army must continue intensifying operations against any violations by Hezbollah. Israeli media has reported that Israeli occupation forces began redeploying in the western sector. They added that this decision is in accordance with the agreement signed with the Lebanese government. They stated that it comes as Israel holds talks with Washington to extend the withdrawal period from Lebanon. Additionally, they clarified that the Israeli army has been instructed not to withdraw from the eastern sector in southern Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has officially announced that the Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon will be deployed beyond the 60-day period. They added that the Israeli army's withdrawal from Lebanon is conditional on the deployment of the Lebanese army in the south. Additionally, they stated that the gradual withdrawal of the Israeli army will continue in full coordination with the United States. We now move to the latest developments in the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Deputy Chairman of Russia's Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, has said that about 450,000 people had signed contracts to serve in the Russian army in 2024. Medvedev added that the aim was to attract a similar number of people in 2025. He also said on his official social media account that more than 40,000 people had also joined volunteer brigades and gone off to fight in Ukraine in 2024. The Kremlin has said Russian President Vladimir Putin has made clear he wants to restart nuclear arms cut talks as soon as possible. The Kremlin's response comes in reaction to comments made by US President Donald Trump. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the ball was in Washington's court. Trump stated that he wants to work towards reducing nuclear arms, adding that he believed Russia and China might support reducing their own weapons capabilities. US President Donald Trump has stated that he is ready to meet with Putin as soon as possible to end what he called a ridiculous war. Earlier in the day, Trump said he wanted to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin as soon as possible to secure an end to the war with Ukraine and expressed a desire to work towards cutting nuclear arms. Trump added that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had told him he was ready to make a deal to end the war. Moving on to the United States, where John Ratcliffe has been sworn in as director of the U.S. National Intelligence Agency under President Donald Trump's second term. Earlier, Trump announced Ratcliffe's nomination to lead the CIA, praising him as a fearless defender of Americans' constitutional rights. Trump has also expressed confidence in Ratcliffe's ability to ensure top-tier national security and promote peace through strength. China has said it is willing to maintain communication with all parties regarding the Ukraine crisis, following US President Donald Trump's call with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping last week. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning has said dialogue and negotiations are the only feasible way to resolve the Ukrainian crisis. A federal judge in Seattle has blocked President Donald Trump's administration for implementing an executive order that would curtail the right to automatic birthright citizenship in the United States. U.S. District Judge John Conware issued a temporary restraining order preventing the administration from enforcing the executive order, which the Republican president signed on his first day in office. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here is what we've been covering. Hamas released 4 Israeli female soldiers, and Tel Aviv will release Palestinian names later tonight. Russia offers dialogue with Syria's new leadership. And Israel Gannett urged Israeli forces to stay in Lebanon's buffer zone. This concludes our news bulletin for the hour. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Qnews EGY. Many thanks for watching, and good night.